You know, when we think of a World War II tank crew, we picture the epic battles, the lines on a map. But what if I told you the real story? The real war wasn't against the enemy outside. It was a brutal, constant fight against the very machine they called home. We're going to look at the gear they carried, and I promise you, what you're about to find out will change how you see these iron beasts forever.
This single sentence right here, it changes everything. It reframes the whole conflict. See, the crewman's first, most relentless enemy wasn't some soldier in a trench. Nope, it was the very beast he was driving into battle.
So, let's step inside. That engine, it's not just a sound, it's this physical force, a deafening roar that just vibrates through your bones, and it never, ever stops. Every lurch, every pivot, sends these violent shudders through the steel plates all around you. The air itself feels like an enemy.
Life inside that tank was just a relentless assault on your body. The temperatures could bake you alive in the summer or freeze you solid in the winter. The air was this thick, gagging cocktail of oil, exhaust fumes, and sweat. And the ride? Oh man, it wasn't just bumpy. It was bone-jarring chaos that could slam you into hard steel without a moment's warning. But the deepest fear, the one that was always there, knowing that one enemy shell could turn your world into a high-pressure inferno in a single terrifying second.
Now, to survive this steel coffin, a crewman was issued a pretty specific set of gear. And on the surface, yeah, it looks like a standard soldier's kit. But the true purpose of every single item, well, that was anything but standard.
So you've got the helmet, the uniform, a sidearm, standard stuff, right? Essentials for survival, for identification. This looks like a kit that's designed for combat. But what if it wasn't? This is where the story takes a turn.
And that brings us to the most important question. If your number one battle is against your own machine, was this gear really designed to fight the enemy outside? Or was its true purpose something else entirely?
The answer, in a word, is survival. Every single piece of equipment they carried had a primary job that was way less about fighting the enemy and everything to do with surviving the tank itself. Let's break it down, item by item.
All right, take the helmet. You'd assume it's there to stop bullets, right? Makes sense. But its main job was actually to stop a crewman from cracking his skull open on a hatch or a piece of equipment when the tank made a sudden lurch. It was basically an armored crash helmet. And beyond just protecting your head, it was the crew's lifeline. Inside that screaming metal box, you couldn't even hear the person sitting next to you. So the helmet's comms system, that was the only thing that allowed a 5-man crew to operate as one. It was the difference between being a functioning weapon and being a 5-man tomb.
Okay, how about the uniform? You'd think the drab colors were for camouflage, but let's be real, a 30-ton tank isn't exactly hiding in the bushes. The reality was way more practical. That dark color hid the constant grime of oil and grease. And even more critically, the materials were actually chosen for flame resistance, buying a die precious seconds to escape a burning wreck.
And the pistol? This one is maybe the biggest misconception of all. It wasn't for storming a bunker. Think about it. When a tanker bailed out of his vehicle, he was suddenly just vulnerable infantry. The pistol was small, it was light, and it wouldn't snag on a hatch during a frantic escape. It was a tool for survival after the real fight. The one inside the tank was already lost.
So now we get to the moment that defined a tanker's entire existence, the moment of a direct hit. In this instant, every calculation, every piece of gear is put to the ultimate test.
This was it. The ultimate terror. Not an anti-tank gun, not a minefield. It was fire. A shell that gets through could instantly ignite fuel or ammunition, turning that cramped steel interior into a furnace.
There's no time for strategy. There's no time to think. There's only this primal, blinding urge to get out. You have maybe 2-3 seconds between that violent impact and the moment the entire compartment is just engulfed in flames.
And in those few seconds, that canteen, those documents, any personal photos, they become totally meaningless weight. You drop everything. Your only mission is to claw your way out of that steel coffin before it becomes your tomb.
So, if all the physical gear is left behind in that moment of truth, what actually determined who survived? What was the real equipment a crewman carried with him?
That frantic escape stripped them down to the absolute bare essential. As one historian put it, they ran, leaving behind everything except their lives. All that carefully designed gear, all those standard issue items, they're just left to the fire. Only the human being gets out. So this is the whole point. The real survival kit wasn't made of leather or steel. It was instinct,
honed by brutal training. It was the seamless coordination to get 5 men out of a tiny hatch without getting tangled up. It was pure, desperate speed. And above all, it was the raw, overwhelming will to live.